A new virus has been discovered that has pandemic potential, according to Chinese scientists. The virus has yet to jump to humans, but health authorities are concerned the COVID distraction could leave us vulnerable.
SARS-like virus, which has infected hundreds in China, has now reached the United States.
French Health Minister Agnès Buzyn has confirmed that
coronavirus has reached Australia.
It's confirmed in Japan.
Malaysia has confirmed
570 tourists and Sri Lankans at
South Korea,
Germany to Finland.
India is attempting.
European countries have
The confirmed case arrived in the Philippines from Wuhan, China, via Hong Kong last January 21, 2020. The patient sought consult and was admitted in one of the country's government hospitals last January 25 after experiencing mild cough. She is currently asymptomatic.
Sometimes I am deeply thinking, what if pandemic didn't happen? Is the status in life we have right now is the same if we didn't lock down before? I might say, this pandemic really changed the way we live. From being free to do whatever we wanted outside, to being limited on what we can do in our home. We are all surprised when the pandemic happens. The daily lifestyle of each of us is the one which is the most affected. We cannot do the things anymore like playing a variety of sports in the morning, riding a bike every afternoon, and inhaling a fresh air outside our home. Instead, some limitations happen. We tend to watch a movie or listen to music over and over again, so the entertainment and enjoyment in ourselves cannot be gone. Pandemic destroys our way of living by making us detained in our own home. But I am sure the day will come that we will back again to normal, so we need to be more patient. We are now in a new normal edition where the education of every student has been changed. We have a different reaction when this policy was being released. For some, it might be a great help for them, but for others, it is not effective at all. The online class is completely different to traditional one, which is the face-to-face classes. Online classes lessen the enjoyment and entertainment of every student while studying, since it doesn't have any funny interaction anymore between students and teachers. It also minimizes ourselves from being active and attentive during class. It is also more tiring than traditional one since it primarily affects our mental health by destroying our sleep pattern. If before, we can answer activities in real time inside our classroom, now we have to do first the task inside our home before doing anything related to school. Mental health is the most affected during the pandemic. Since we do the same things every day, it primarily distracts our mind. Due to the same routine every day, our mental health damages by means of overthinking. We also became anxious in everything we do, and it minimizes our comfort zone. The pandemic also compromises our social life. It changed everything to us. If before, we play physical games to escape boredom, now we are forced to play online games as a stress reliever. And we all know, in online games, there are more frustration and disappointments with ourselves might happen, which will eventually result to breakdown. This pandemic really makes us anxious in everything we do. Before we touch anything, we are obliged to use an alcohol or sanitizer. We primarily do it because of fear in having a coronavirus. Alcohol became a weapon that was beneficial in our life. Wherever we go, or whatever we do, we always have an alcohol besides us. The pandemic makes us uncomfortable in ourselves. We use face mask and face shield to prevent the virus. But this thing was really annoying since it affects our way of sight and smell. Face mask is a protective equipment used to cover our nose and mouth, while face shield is an equipment to protect our whole face. With this equipment, we're protecting ourselves from the virus, but primarily affect our seeing and smelling. This minor issue really creates major impacts which really affect our way of living, jobs, and even mannerisms.
Good day everyone, I am Kirtsten Casemero, and today I'm going to report about description in feature writing. Presented on the screen is the overview of the report. Especially, I will be discussing the following. Definition of description and its types. Sir, the dog's barking too loud. Wait sir, let me do something about it. The sounds we habitually hear at home are often the same challenges we face in online class. Dog barking, neighbors' loud stereo, the TV, motorcycles passing by, and so on. All these things inevitably take a toll on our academic performance since they take us away from the moment of learning. And sadly, this happens to us students rather than often than not. It's inescapable, the distressing experience of either being disrupted in the middle of a class or having to submit a requirement late, all for the reason that the internet's unstable or not working at all. Some people would say that it's only a tactic used to justify the tardiness of students, but the truth is, it does happen so often to us and it consequently affects our motivation to study. It makes the process of learning even harder than it already is. I think that this comes foreseeable enough given that it's harder to focus in class when you can't understand what the professor is saying due to lag. Learning in an online setup could be twice as challenging as face-to-face setup due to many reasons, one of which is the dysfunction of the device we mostly use like cell phones, laptops, tablets, or computers. Aside from this, one of the problems that could be considered too is some students' lack of accessibility to good quality devices that have large specs and are much more suitable for online learning. As a result, this not infrequently eats our time, lessens our productivity, and in worst cases, even deletes the entire work we have been putting effort into, which I tell you as a student feels as depressing as it sounds, and for certain, there's something about constantly having to deal with the devices that often malfunction that puts our learning process as well as our academic life in absolutely disarray. For most of us, schooling at home means the same way as attending classes while doing household chores, like listening to your professor talk about physics while washing the dishes, attending a group meeting while sweeping the floor, watching a recorded session while cleaning your room, doing an activity on and off because you are tasked to do the laundry, and sometimes even sacrificing your class just to run errands for your family. Oftentimes, it is hard to draw the line between schoolworks and assigned household chores. Well, I think it is for the obvious reason that both things are done at home. And what's worse is that sometimes for some students like me, there's not even a line created at all. Hence, results in the chaotic aftermath of online classes on our academic performances, mental health, and just the overall state of our lives.
There are many things that can make us lose our focus. One of this is playing video games. We play games to avoid things that makes us anxious. It helps us escape reality. These games are part of us, but sometimes we become so attached to it that we lose reality and forget the important things that is there. But there are still people who can get us back into reality. Those who believe that we can do things we think we can. Our family that support us throughout the way and care for us in our darkest times. Their sacrifices should motivate us in doing those things that will lead us to a brighter future, because all they want is for us to make it in life. We might feel that we are alone, but they are always there, those who love us, even though we don't love ourselves. We might lose our path and overthink things. We might stumble and fall. We might lose it all. But remember that all this is a part of a great future ahead. Mistakes are not hindrances. Mistakes are stepping stones to become better. Always remember that there are people who are always there for us. People that motivate us and help us realize that we are stronger than we used to be. Being a student in a time of a pandemic, online class is the main focus of every one of us. Even though some students easily manage to cope and adjust to the new normal, there are still some of us who aren't. There are still students who have difficulty in making time for doing their schoolworks. This is so hard, I can't do this anymore. These are one of the phrases that we students think whenever we encounter problems that we can't solve. We always think of giving up and stop doing those things. But even though it's hard, there's still a dream that needs to be fulfilled. A future of a student despite all of the hardship and sleepless nights. We fulfill our dream of graduating. The motivation of becoming who he or she inspires to be will make up for all the pain. Always think that I can do this for myself and for the ones I love, for the future that I dream of every day. The more we think about what we can't, the less we see what we can. So always think your greatest dreams and envision the life you always wanted. It might be hard at first, but it will all be worth it. For our future, for our family, and for everyone that believes in us. Even though the pandemic is hard, we still need to do the things that can make us grow. Continue learning and continue to break the limits. Mistakes makes us stronger. We learn, we grow from it. Because those who don't commit mistake or those who don't see mistakes as a lesson don't rise and become a better version of themselves. We can do all things if we trust ourselves and be resilient to overcome any negative thoughts that comes into our minds. We should be thankful to our parents and to those who support us. They are the ones that stayed during our lowest, and we should pay them back when we are in our highest. We should appreciate their efforts to be on our side when the boat isn't steady. People come and go, but be with those who manage to stay, those who don't judge us easily, and in this time of a pandemic, those who ask if we are okay, those are the ones who we can keep for life. Remember to have fun. Do things that makes you happy, because those things are the ones that make us who we are. Games, sports, books, or any kind of hobby are good for our mind and soul. They teach us that happiness is a choice, and you should always choose to be happy despite all of the hardships in your life. It gives us peace to reflect and think about things that we can process easily.